Welcome to Hindsight Hacking. I'm Corey Carter.
And I'm Ron Cool, and you are listening to Hindsight Hacking, where we have talked to hundreds of entrepreneurs hacking their hindsight to give you clearer foresight.
And now, as we still bring you the same great, amazing interviews each and every week, we are adding bits and pieces to serve you in such a great way. These bits and pieces are some mindset hacks, visibility hacks, traffic hacks, and more on the Daily Hack. So we want to make sure that you have all the tools and all the resources that you need to gain more visibility and gain more traffic.
And obviously, to get more sales. So head over to gethhm.com/toolbox to grab your free resources to get the help you need to get more.
And if you're interested, after you collect all those freebies, because they're amazing, hit the link in the show notes and jump on our calendar because we definitely want to help you.
Guys, we absolutely love the community that we've created with your guys' help, and we love all the Hindsight Hackers. So jump on in and get on our calendar.
So without further ado, what do you say? Let's get to it. All right, what is going on? Today, we have a treat for you. Today, we are welcoming back on the show Mr. Jeff Venn, now the founder of Create Web Studios. And we had him on, I know it was recently, but we had to bring him back because we want to learn more about how to truly be a life architect, working your business, building your business, working less than 40 hours. And I'm going to read a quote because I love quotes. And you can find this quote on Jeff's site. Many people will tell you where to go, what to do, and how to live, but there's a higher path and calling inside of you that only you can unearth. It's time to stop living by other people's scripts and expectations of your life and have your own awakening. Quote, Mr. Jeff Venn. What's going on, sir?
Yee! Stoked to be back here with you guys again and unpacking life architecture, because I think as entrepreneurs, we want to live life on our own terms. And there's the fantasies of working from the beach and travel, this, that, and other. But there's also some simple ways and some things that we get back when we, work for ourselves and call the shots.
Absolutely. And I think that's where a lot of entrepreneurs kind of get in a catch-22. Sometimes they take too much time and hang out, or they'll be working too much and they don't really have that balance figured out.
Yeah, balance for sure. I love this coaching I get from Peter Schaller. He calls himself the Shrink for Entrepreneurs. He's a psychologist. He has a great program at commitaction.com, but he, and this is a common thing, that wheel of life, right? We got into this a little bit last time. Work's just a part of the pie. And granted, we spend a lot of time with the people we work with, perhaps a third of our time working, a third sleeping, and a third doing the rest of the stuff. But, when we get too myopically focused on work and we put that ladder there, not only do we, build our own mousetrap, which we suffer in, but we kind of lose the creativity, and eventually it'll lead to burnout because, money is just, unless you're using it, unless you have an experience in life, if you're stacking up money for some exit date, perhaps that may or may never come. So yeah, climbing that ladder for just money or staying so focused just on careers definitely could be detrimental.
Yeah. It's so funny. We all get into this business. Like a lot of people work at 9 to 5 and they're like, oh, I'm going to start my own thing. I can be my own boss. I'm going to work my own hours, my own thing. Right. And then they end up working twice as long. And Ron and I are guilty. Yes, we have a problem. We sometimes work longer than we're supposed to. And definitely the wives yell at us more than one occasion to make sure that we are done and present when we need to be. But when you're doing something you love, it's hard to sometimes turn it off, right? Like I know it's supposed to be just part of that pie. It's supposed to be part of that puzzle. But sometimes it's like, oh, if I can just get this one more thing done, even though most likely it can wait till tomorrow. How did you really make that a priority? Even though, because I'm sure you're like us and you're like, I know I can get this done. I'm enjoying what I'm doing, but instead you turned it off and just architected that way of being into your core early on.
Sure. So what's interesting is time's just a commodity. And if we think hard work's going to get us ahead, there are continents of people right now that will, work to the bone and outwork us perhaps. And two, it's about how we use our time, because look at everyone has 24 hours in a day. Steve Jobs had those 24 hours, Bill Gates had those 24 hours, but their outputs are wildly different. So I learned, instead of focusing so much on a certain amount of time, focusing on what is my output. Or if you're in the business and you're trying to grow it and scale it, you got to look at those things that are eating your lunch, that are stressing you out, that are keeping you from growing the business and or raising up others and giving them opportunities. So this idea that, I'm going to work so hard and create so much value. Yes, hard work certainly has a play. And I remember when I started out, like, I was wearing all the hats and had to do it. But at some point, I had to look at how I was spending my time and create a greater output, because we can see with those examples of great leaders had the same time as us, produced amazing output. So that's kind of a change in thinking. And there's a time to grind, but there's also a time to work on those high value activities that really move the needle.
No, I love that. And as you could see, Corey wears all the hats on this show. So he's a busy guy. So I had to play that. I was waiting. I was like, don't go too far away from that, because I'm going to use that. And I don't think I've ever used that. So dun, dun. All right. So how do you get through to someone like Corey and I that, like, we do focus on output, we do focus on impact, we are giving things out, and we are delegating, but we still find ourselves in this grind mode?
Yeah, for sure. So part of it is habit, right? So you've habitualized the grind. You're kind of addicted to a certain schedule. Heck, I'm that way now with like the lesser hours I work. It still feels like a full day. Perhaps it's just because of what we acclimate to. So every now and then we need to have a hard reset and kind of evaluate your time. Have you guys ever done like a time audit, taken a couple weeks of time or a couple months and just pulled all that time out and see where it's spent?
No. That scares me. Like right away.
Do you have time tracking actually though? Time tracking with categories and types of tasks and areas you're working on? Like, I'm doing marketing, I'm doing invoicing, I'm doing sales.
We are not, because, and again, I'm going to just throw an excuse out there to make us look better. But
it's because you're wearing a hat.
let me put this. Yeah. Ron and I, we didn't hire anybody until probably a month ago. And outside of, we had people helping for Facebook ads and stuff, but when it came to basically everything else, it was just us. And I haven't felt that it would be, we would be able to do any kind of time tracking or auditing until now, right? Now our team has grown to, we have 6 people, and it's definitely time where we can actually do more management, do more auditing, do more of things that are actually going to drive the needle up with our sales. Whereas before it was, we even missed the boat on a few sales just because we were stuck in fulfillment mode.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Yeah, one of the things that I did, and so I founded a website and online marketing agency, and websites take quite a bit of time to build. So I got stuck in this trap really quick where I was a computer science guy, a coder. So I like coding the websites. It was rewarding. But let's just say I landed 5 websites. Those websites would take a while to code, up to 30 or 40 hours at a time. So immediately, land 5 websites, 30 hours of time each. That's 150 hours, almost a full thing. So I had to look at things like that and get them off my plate, or I was never, because I had missed sales too. And sales have a certain timeline, or even I'd miss sending invoices or let collections get a little behind, and that just ticks everybody off. So yeah, that was one of it was equal parts painful. It was done out of pain, but also done out of smartness, because I knew once I freed that chunk of time up, oh boy, could I work on other stuff.
Yeah, no. And that's been something that it's funny because, and Corey, you could probably attest, like in real world job, like Ron as boss guy, I would delegate all the time. Like I would not have a lot of issues with that at all. Like, but entrepreneur Ron, like I have an issue with it. Like I'm like, I want it done a very specific way. It's much, much different, right? Especially when it comes to graphics. Like I'm never giving away the graphics because I enjoy it. And it's something I enjoy doing. But I enjoy doing a lot of the stuff we do, and I've got to prioritize what I'm able to give away. And I have to understand people are competent in doing that.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on the design. So I minored in graphic design. That's still one of the things we're really known for is just beautiful custom web design. But that was literally the last one I gave away. I'd get so frustrated with people. And the cool part about design, though, Ron, is once you get good at it, it doesn't take as much time, right? So if coding the website, took 30, 40 hours, like the design, a long one may have took 11. But one thing you can do, though, is you have like all these templates, meaning this show has a brand, it has a certain formats that follow. So at some point you can get the junior designer to rip through those badges or something like that. And that'll free you up to maybe work on the next big skin or the next layout overdue or version 2.0. So I like exploring little hacks like that as well.
Love it.
Yes, that is exactly what we've been talking about. All the little stories that we do for all of our clients. Ron is in conversations to allow someone else to basically work with the skin, so to speak, right? Because he's already got it laid out. But how do you do this with your employees, right? Like you talk about being the life architect, you talk about the work-life balance. Like, does that trickle down to the entire team that you have and people that you have around you?
Yeah, for sure. So this is something really unique about our organization. There's about 10 of us, give or take. The big chunk of that's full-time under the Create Studios roof. And then we have some people that are, consistently we outsource stuff to and partnered up with. But for the people that are full-time under the Create Studios roof, people select their hours. So most of the team works about 35 hours a week. As I got into the 40-hour work week, it's quite arbitrary. And to my knowledge, Henry Ford, back when he was building cars way back when, was running 2 12-hour shifts, running this factory 24 hours, and injuries were up and things like that. So he was like, hey, if 8 goes into 24 3 times, that's 3 shifts. And that's where this idea of the 8-hour work week came. And then we see places like Europe and France and others that, so there's different ways to do it, but we still have this frontier grind to the bone spirit. And what I do is let people work as many hours as they want. So 35 is a general one, but we have a mom. She's our creative director. She does so much. She gets it all done in 25 to 30 hours a week. And we adjust pay accordingly. So people can still get paid well. They're not going to get paid as much as if they're working full time, but this gives them a bit of flexibility. And so we've definitely just had that as part of our culture from the beginning. It's been pretty cool.
Love it. Love it.
And you might be like, what do you do when you could get so much more if you had 5 more hours from these employees? Well, at some point you're ready to hire someone new. So you just hire people at the 35-hour increment or 30-hour increment instead of, 40. So perhaps there's a little bit of inefficiency there, but it's still stacked and staffed the same way. And here's another thing. So I'll just get in a couple of hacks. So like life architecture is about how you want your day to feel, right? So a good friend was talking to me once, and we set all these goals and things like that. But really, we want a certain feeling when we wake up in the day. We want to feel a certain way. And for me, I don't like getting bugged in the morning. I love doing work in the morning, but I like it to be creative work. I like it to be that work that
I was waiting for it.
I keep telling Ron to stop bugging me in the morning. Give me some time to do my work.
For sure. The mornings are important. Your creative juices are full. I mean, why do people fail on diets? Decision fatigue. We make all these decisions all day, and it's so hard to stick with a food diet, for example, in the evening. Whereas when you wake up, it's easy to, eat your 3 egg whites and egg or whatever thing you're doing. And so it's the same with our creative capacities, right? We have that fresh time in the morning. We can dream a little bit. We haven't had the energy sucked out of us. And then 2, the way I got that was I just trained clients and staff. Don't schedule the weekly team huddle at 9 a.m. on Monday. Hell, no one probably wants that anyway when they're coming in dragging their tail. So our team huddles at 1 p.m. on Monday. Another one is this. Don't respond to emails at all hours. If someone emails you at 9:30 and it's important but not urgent, don't respond. If someone calls you at 8:05 in the morning, don't answer. Call them back at 10. A lot of stuff is not urgent, but we train people by our behavior. And then what happens is this. We get a lot of value out of answering those things. Right? We're like, oh, I got this done. I got that done, this, that, and the other. But really, we didn't get to use that energy in the morning. If you're a morning person or your brain, like most of ours is fresher in the morning, you didn't get to use it for that. You're just processing the typical BS which comes at you.
Yeah, Corey. That's all I got to say. Yeah, Corey.
Well, how much stuff that comes across your plate is urgent, right?
Oh my gosh, there was so much he was writing down. I was like, damn it.
So let's just say, Jeff, I'm hoping Ron is listening because I've been sharing this message, and so this is a fun topic.
This is not a fun topic. What's the next question I can ask? No, this is important because I think a lot of people, including myself, like we fall into these ruts where I'm the one that answers the emails at all times of the day. Like we had one client that was joking around that it was a Sunday and she just wanted to send me an email, and we've had this conversation with her, and she goes, "Now, don't respond, Ron." Like literally, that's what the client
telling
told me.
Ron not to respond.
Yeah, told me not to respond until business hours because it was something we talked about, right? And we have a good relationship. So I acted like I was my bot responding, and as my bot, I would say this if I was Ron, but I'm not because I'm a bot. Because I had to like play with it. But oh my gosh, yeah, it's a real thing for me, and I'm not sure why. I've always been that way.
Yeah, for sure.
Like waiting, and I have to respond. It's just like need. It's weird.
Yeah, here's a problem with that. So we run website projects. So you could imagine the amount of changes that come in, and you'll get all types of clients. You'll get the ones that you can't chase down no matter what. Like we work with lawyers, they'll just get busy and they'll get casework, but other people just dribble stuff in. Well, if you got like a 15-page website, people dribble stuff in all the time and do this, that, and then this, edit, and that, it gets pretty inefficient quickly. So as soon as someone starts doing that, we go, "Hey, got your last 3 emails. Looking forward to our meeting on Thursday." And then just give them a little coaching, which may be, "Hey, if email's the best way and we're accepting it like that, like stack it up and do it." But then they know there's a point on Thursday and they can fire away. Got it. But then we're not just jumping up and down at their whim because we're trying to manage a whole book of work with lots of accounts. And that's another thing too. Like account management takes up a lot of effort and energy. So if you can put it more in you're in control mode and you give them what you said and collect it up until then, you can get a lot of brain space back, because you and I, we need to evolve our service. We need to work on the business. We need to have some clarity. We need to be able to develop systems and processes with the team and those things that will change the course of the company in the future. And if when I was just bogged down with account management all the time, I started having to do those hacks. So that definitely helped, because account management would just take me down if I let it eat my lunch.
Right. All right, Jeff. So it's one thing we didn't get to talk about on your last visit to the show was Converge. We didn't get to hear your whole community of young entrepreneurs that you mentor. We didn't get to hear that story and why you do it, what you do, how you do it. Like definitely like share the gold on this one.
Yeah, for sure. So switching gears a little bit. So I started Create Studios back in 2005. And at the time of this recording, we're in 2021. So that was 16 years ago. And I started in my late 20s. And I've learned so much since then. And, entrepreneurs, the general population, maybe around 10% tops, right? So when I went out on my own, most of the advice I got or the looks I got were from, my parents, who their generation had stable jobs, like with a retirement, or from, a lot of us do want to go get a job where we know there's a paycheck every week and be in the finance industry or be in something like that. But like you guys, or like many people in your audience, if you're a creative, if you love that autonomy and that freedom, and entrepreneurship is for you and problem solving, there's not a lot of encouragement there. And so I just wanted to start giving back to my younger self. So not only is my team chock full of millennials, it's just the nature of it with marketing, and I'm able to, instill what I've learned to them. But I went out and found a bunch of people who are a year or two in. One guy runs an awesome videography shop. Another girl left a big national marketing position for a home builder, was working all the time, making good money. And she's 30. She works 35 hours a week and has a stack of recurring revenue clients. Another lady wrote a book, was over 70 episodes in on the podcast, and did like high level copywriting. So I gathered them all together. And the last program we ran was last fall. It was really cool. We got together and we set a 90-day wildly important goal. So we get on a weekly huddle. We'd have like a monthly milestone. We're all working on something that was, outside of what our normal day-to-day of the business demanded. And people saw tremendous growth. So with Converge, I'm getting the younger people or young at heart people back together and kind of giving them a place where like it's safe and they're encouraged and like they're not just drowning in account management or all those things, you're going to do with a business, but they have a place to dream a little bigger. And so I've been running mentoring programs, year in review programs, and the goal one day is to have a co-work space here in Jacksonville, Florida, where we can all gather and work together.
Oh, that's awesome. Because Corey and I have talked about this co-work space that we wanted to do in Colorado because one, it'd just be cool. But I will tell you, it's amazing that you brought up that you're helping a younger version of yourself. Because I think once we realize we're just helping ourselves when we got stuck a while back and trying to collapse time for ourselves, which is somebody else now in that spot, that's how we can impact and change the world.
For sure. And I don't know about you, but one of the things I would do ever differently again, and I guess this is a little hindsight one, but is to get like a mentor or a coach. And I was always afraid to pay, or I was just busy, right? I'm like, man, this guy's going to give me some stuff and I'm going to kind of look at it, but not get to it. But if you really invest in a small, intimate mastermind group or align yourself with like a paid coach, it reaps dividends. Because here's the kind of stupid stuff I did, and I'm sure many of the listeners can relate. Like, I wouldn't necessarily have written contracts. Like the pitch deck would be a PowerPoint and it has some bullets on the scope, or I wasn't consistent with billing because I was so grateful to get clients in the beginning. I was just like grateful to collect money and I do everything they said. But what I did was create some mini monsters where I learned a simple agreement, payment milestones. And if you told someone 5 things and they asked for thing 6, refer back to that. People respect that, right? So seems so simple in hindsight, but little tips like that. So the videographer out there can continue making the videos. The person who's, doing podcast production, continue to do that, but they can go about it in a smarter way so they don't get their lunch eaten.
Yep.
So good. I love, it's obviously for Ron and I, we haven't gotten down to the way younger selves to help and mentor in that sense. But yeah, that was like our business blew up once we realized that whole piece as far as who we're serving. And so I love everything about this. And let's talk a little bit too about, so Converge, you said 5 of you that kind of work with it. Like, are you the one in charge of it? And you gathered these people to help execute, or is
for
everybody
sure. So Converge, I've been just running small, like 90-day programs. I ran an annual review program. And so, I'm leading it, but we'll have like little group pods and, I'm building that out. That's a passion project right now. Maybe in the future, I made a little money off the mentoring. So technically I was a paid mentor, but I'm exploring avenues to do that more and more as the agency runs without my day-to-day involvement. So what I really want to do with Converge though, and I'm going to get around to it sooner rather than later, is launch a podcast. Because it's like, I don't know about you guys, but it's never been easier to like start a business or a side hustle or not go down the average, like do what my parents said, go to college, like take on some student debt or not and get a job. So the stories out there are fascinating. I find it inspiring how fast you can move these days and, go after something, especially when you're younger and you don't have this monthly nut or standard of living or mouths to feed that can happen as you get older. Yeah.
Well, we may know a couple guys that can help with the podcast when you're ready. So you just let us know.
Oh yeah. Some cool ones.
All right. So there's something else that I can't remember if we talked about before on the show, but I know we talked about it at some point. We were talking about surfing and going through do you go through the tube? What is that called?
Oh yeah. The barrel. Yeah. The tube riding on the inside in the water.
Yeah. So how long did it take you to actually decide you were going to do that? Or do you think about it? Was it like, you're like, well, as a surfer, it's just something you have to do?
Yeah. So surfing is very interesting. So 2 things on surfing. One, the learning curve is super hard, but after that, it gets very rewarding. The learning curves may be likened to golf. It looks pretty easy to put a little ball out there, get a big club and like literally sling it down the field. I barely have ever golfed. And first time I golfed was like, I was in my 20s and I couldn't even hit that thing 50 feet and it dumbfounded me. So surfing, just the actual art of like standing up is like the hardest thing. So I recommend for anyone trying surfing, if you're in like Costa Rica or California or Florida, get some lessons. They'll get you on the right size board and get you up. But that's the learning curve. The other cool thing about surfing though is the water is never the same. You never ride the same wave twice. Just like the clouds in the sky are never configured the same and the river's always running a little different. So surfing's a real feel thing. So I can liken it to fishing or something like that. The tide comes into play, the wind comes into play, the sun and the clouds come into play, and the fish will all behave differently. In the same way, tides, wind, time of year, direction of the swell. So it's super dynamic. So you go out there and you kind of wait. And what you learn how to do is like read the conditions. So to get to answering your story, a wave will come in and it might have a line that just breaks all at once. So you can't stand up and like go down it. A wave will come in that's going to peel off. So you can like spin in a certain direction. Like say you're looking at me and I'm going right down the beach. And then in the same way, you can feel the barrel coming because the water will start to suck up. Right. We've all seen the standing waves like in the river, right? Rafting, you see those standing waves and they're about to throw over all the time. So yeah, it's a feel thing and you feel it sucking up and like you get down in position and boom, it goes over you. And most of the time it crushes you halfway through, but the sheer enjoyment when you pop out of that tunnel is unreal.
Oh my gosh.
Sounds like a blast. So you definitely are architecting that life because I know you're also a musician, fluent in Spanish, hanging out on the beach, surfing, all this stuff that does not have anything to do with your business, which is thriving. But I'm going to play. Hopefully, start a little debate. We'll see. We'll see what this is.
Oh my gosh!
So on your website, Jeff, you have a little spot about branding, and I know this is near and dear to Ron's heart. Any logo creation, collateral, brand narratives, standards, all that fun stuff. I'd love to get your take on it and just, if when someone comes to you, like, what do you look for in the branding or when you give a pitch back, you're like, okay, this is going to be for this website and this part of the brand. Like, how do you wrap it all together and make a cohesive kind of unit for a lot of your clients?
Yeah, so for branding, so actually Stephanie from our team like loves branding. She's our creative director. She's been on for like maybe 3 years now. Been working with her for like 4 or 5. She really heads up the branding, but this is what I know, what I've experienced. A lot of times customers will come in and they don't have like giant budgets. So they can go pay $20,000 on a logo and like hire some company for consulting, this, that, and the other, but they'll come to us when they're ready to redesign their website, right? So a lot of times the website's 3, 4, 5 years old. Maybe the time they spend a little money on it or use the template. So it's a great time to give them a refresh. As you know, in branding, a lot of times you don't go in and change the colors or dramatically change the logo. So normally like a piece like that is in place, maybe a slogan or a tagline, there's certain elements there. And so with the website, we'll get to take those core elements, like maybe it was a really strong font for an AC company, and really kind of bring them to life with modern colors. Like I see you guys are using a pretty poppy orange right here, whereas, maybe previous to this, if you had an older brand, it'd be more a burnt red orange, which we don't see a lot of these days. So we use the website as the vehicle to kind of give it a refresh, and that extends to all their digital properties, right? Because on Facebook, you get the main banner, you get the logo. On LinkedIn, the same thing. So it's pretty cool to, if you Google a company's name, it has Google Local, right? Where you can upload images there. So it's pretty cool to kind of get to play with all these container elements, right? Because website starts with navigation and a font and logo placement and a thick color. And then it's got the big hero area. And then it's got like bios. Is it circles? Is it squares? So we find that the web design gives us a lot of flexibility for the branding, and that's a great place for us to launch out with it.
No, I completely agree. Like I love when clients have like a strong brand. Like we have a client who has a strong brand. It's very powerful. There's like maybe 4 colors in it. And so I'm able to do a lot of things to complement the brand piece to actually make their brand a little bit more broad reaching across all the platforms instead of it just being really good on Facebook, if you will, right? And I love being able to have it be multifunctional across everything and just cohesive.
For sure. So you guys are in a little bit different scenario. If you're just producing a podcast, you perhaps don't get your hands on the website and the collateral and things like that. So the cool thing about the website, once again, is a lot of times companies don't even do print these days, and you get the big canvas to work with. So we'll do some traditional branding projects from scratch, but that's where a company is really like, say, a psychologist is starting out, or a company really knows that they need to transform. And that one's more of a traditional branding piece. And we've done some of those, but a lot of them are just, we get a big old palette with a website and it gets to like extend its fingers out to everything.
So if somebody came to you and they need everything, like how do you know? What if they're like, okay, I'm starting from scratch. I need a website. I need the brand. I need to build a logo. I need automation. I need hosting. Like, do you have like okay, this person needs the works, or is it kind of still one off? Like, how does that whole piece?
For sure. Yeah. So we were running into two scenarios. One are established businesses, right? So like a giant construction company or a chiropractor who's been around a long time, or we do a lot in the medical field with like doctors' offices and things. So they already have a theme going on. They aren't design experts, so they trust us with it. But every now and then, particularly with like financial planners, we've run into this, psychologists, people who kind of are bringing their unique personality into the thing. Yeah, for them, we'll get to start with like a color palette and the fonts and the swatches and take that all the way through. And we mainly focus on digital. We've done some print pieces, but we'll give them that full digital identity. So there is the works package. We find that those are generally people that are, starting out, like a solopreneur or a true entrepreneur that has a budget to work with us. Because otherwise, a company usually already has a brand at some point, and like we aren't a rebranding company per se, to be honest, you know what I mean? But we're really good at digital. So if the brand's already in place, we're really good at bringing it a step forward. Or if they're like, hey, like for this construction company, we actually refreshed their logo, but that's more rare. So for people who are doing branding from scratch it's like that CPA, that financial planner, that psychologist, those types.
No, I love it. And that's kind of where I call it birthing the brand. I love that. I love being able to like take their idea and get it out of their head and put it on paper. That's my happy place. That makes me happy. So that's what I enjoy.
Yeah. It's very cool. Yeah. I will give a cool branding one. So the hardest one is to brand yourself, right? So remember with the Converge and mentoring the millennial entrepreneurs, we set this 90-day goal. Well, I did a 90-day goal with them too. And so I was able to launch jeffvenn.com with the help of my team, but we did a photo shoot. We built the brand from scratch, and it was really cool because I had a lot of help. It's really hard to sit down and write about yourself or figure out which color is the most meaningful to you. So that was a really fun one that came out good, because what I'm tracking with Ron is that branding is like that discovery process. And when you hit it right, it has that aha moment, which I was complimenting you on your LinkedIn posts and even the branding you have on this video podcast right now. It's so strong and it just feels good, right? It's beyond words. Like, the colors are preferences, right? Blue, orange, black, purple, whatever. But for some reason, the flow, your colors and your fonts and everything, it just feels right and it stands out.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, obviously your jeffvenn.com spoke to me when I grabbed that quote from it, right? Like that little message that I read. I know I put that on our show notes last time. I'll put it on this one. I just, I love that. That resonated so much with me. So, but my start of the branding conversation didn't start an argument like I was hoping. I thought you guys would go head to head with some differences, but I digress.
No.
So
I did want to ask, can I flip the script and ask you guys some questions?
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. So how did you so part of entrepreneurship, like I really value autonomy and control of my time. I wanted the space to do things the way I saw them. What inspired you guys to go out on your own, and how do you like being partners?
You want to go first, Corey?
Oh, sure.
You always go first, so I'm the second.
No, I did go first. No, so yeah, Ron and I met, I don't know, it was like 5 years ago, and we were actually working in a job together, and just realized that the best parts about that job was helping and developing people, and really helping these people achieve things they never thought they could achieve, right? And like Ron and I were both really, really good at it, but we came at it from a different perspective. We came at it in a different way, and but it allowed us to get to know each other and work together, and really, see that, we could actually do some cool things on our own. And so, yeah, we started some stuff on the side, slowly building up. In 2018, 2019, we were doing all things in local Colorado, in-person coaching, mastermind meetings, and trainings and that kind of stuff. And then we discovered the online space. And so, yeah, that's kind of the shortened version of that. Ron was doing all the branding and building stuff. Again, it was like the in-person stuff. And then I discovered ClickFunnels and was like, oh, okay, we can go this whole other direction. And that's kind of a way we went. And, and then through the time, we both were able to leave those 6-figure jobs, and working together is, I know we wouldn't achieve what we've achieved without the other one. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, looking back at just the journey, like we complement each other in our strengths and differences so well. Like one of our clients, she actually said, you guys are like Batman and Robin, but neither one of you are the sidekick. Right. So that to me says it's a great partnership. Do we agree on everything? No. But you know what? We've learned working together on how to get things accomplished and how to come to an agreement to make sense for our company to move forward. And that's, I couldn't ask for a better person to work with.
That's awesome. Last question on that front. What was each of you's why? My why was the corporate was a trap and it was kind of soul sucking. It got monotonous and routine, but you guys saw you could build some cool stuff together. But what was your real why for like, hey, I left the paycheck?
Okay. Corey, you go first on this one. I got a number. Sorry.
Well, honestly, what led me to actually meeting Ron was I was a director of ops for a national chain, traveling all the time in this restaurant, and I was from the Carolinas to Washington State, and all these little towns in between, and there was 1 month where I was gone 30 of 31 days, and I had a son who was 6 at the time, and my wife was pregnant with our second kid, and I was like, gosh, she can't do this alone, and it, like, that decision was made after those 30 of 31 days being gone, that I was going to leave my current position. I was going to find a new job. And that led me to, that leap of faith, taking a huge pay cut to the job that led me to meet Ron. Right. And then, a funny story on that was my wife ended up getting this awesome promotion in her job within a month of me leaving my other job. So in reality, we didn't lose a dime with the overall household salary through that process. Right. And so, but yeah, my why as far as everything was to actually hang out and be at home with the family. And it took a while, but, but we talked about architecting your life, right? Like me traveling, that was the epitome of the wrong life architect that I wanted to have. And so through the process of everything and through each step that was made, the ultimate goal was to work from anywhere at any time. And so now I'm in my home office and, had coffee with my wife this morning and hung out with my son a little bit this afternoon. Like, that's the why, being able to do all that stuff. And, and then trying to keep the balance, but definitely, being able to be home at any time, like that's for sure.
Well, even with working all the hours, like taking out the drive time and taking out the travel, like you've just won so much, all things being equal. You know what I mean? Perhaps the same time at the computer screen, but output so much greater. And you guys look really passionate about what you do, and you're doing something you love. Ron, what about your why behind it?
Oh, really easy. So I was working and my wife, we were expecting our third child. And then all those questions of, do we have time? Are we making enough money? Are we making the right decisions? Like, do we have time to actually do this? Like, now what? Right. And so started researching different things to do. I also was traveling a lot and I hated it. And I actually took a stance and left the job to go do something else because I thought that's what I should do. And I remember talking to my wife about starting this, and we prayed about it for months. And I would go to church, and like every church service was just like, here you go. Right. Like it was just a phone call. I was being spoken to every single service. And I remember just turning to my wife. I was like, I've said that. And she goes, yeah, that's kind of interesting. We'll just keep praying. And I remember coming and telling Corey, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is like, I'm just being called. And my wife goes, you've been called to do this ever since I've known you. And it might be time. So I've said this story and I'm going to share it again, but I've said it multiple times on the show where my aunt, my wife's aunt, believes her calling is to have a llama farm to help single moms get back on their feet after a divorce or, abusive relationship. And she feels that's her calling from God. And I'm like, awesome. What are you doing to put that into motion? And she goes, I'm just waiting. I go, God isn't going to open up the skies and drop a freaking llama farm on you. You have to take some action. Right. And so I've said that and my wife's heard that story 10 years for 10 years. And Corey's heard it multiple times. And the weekend before I put in my notice, we're sitting at church, and I kid you not, the message was around God has given you talents, and there's a moment that you have to take action, or the moment will pass you by. And I was like, oh my God, honey, like that is what I've been saying. And she goes, yeah, I agree. But for me, it was more about I wanted her support. Like I knew we wouldn't fail. But if I didn't have support at home, even though that was my why, it's just friction. And Corey and I's whole thing is a frictionless process. So we help people have a frictionless process in their business, and their podcast and all of those pieces. And for me, it's also, I wanted a frictionless marriage, right? I didn't want to have a friction of, she didn't want me to do this, but I did it anyway. So that was something, I wanted her blessing, if you will.
Yeah, it's cool. So you had these awakenings like deep within, and Corey, yours wasn't with the promise of having the same salary. You're like, man, I'll take the cut, but I'll do it. So it's pretty cool. Reminded me of the nerves I felt when I put in a 30-day notice where I was. I left on really good terms in corporate. And that was one of the things people, in short, they feel like they're just launching out. Well, if it doesn't work out in a year, you're probably still pretty relevant in your mortgage industry or whatever. But man, that moment when you give in the notice and you say goodbye to that paycheck, it's mainly exhilarating, but it's also like, oh gosh, like here we go.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So, sometimes we just have to have that faith, right? We just have to take that step. And we know, like, if we're doing the things the right way for the right reasons, like things will work out. And that was what happened for me, right? I had the right reasons for what I was doing, took the leap of faith that, we would figure things out and the pay would be fine. And then, I swear less than 30 days later, my wife got the raise to equal what I had taken back. Like it was crazy. And so super lucky with that. But Jeff, what's a couple of like big goals that you have over the next few years? I mean, you've got this lifestyle, working sub 40 hours a week, got a good team, building Converge. Like, yeah, what's the next goal over the next few years?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm well into my 40s, and the leadership on our team's like early 30s. So I'm kind of looking at it by decades. And by and large, I have the agency running without my day-to-day involvement. So that's been pretty cool. I've been able to serve in a leadership capacity, and I've been working a bit on marketing. And I want to, give that to them slowly, pay out the bonuses, grow to a size that sustains their life well, and then, give up some ownership of that. So that's one thing I want to do. And then two, I want to pursue this Converge thing more and mentoring and giving back and just, hearing other stories, podcasting, co-work space, mentoring groups, little masterminds in a very accessible way. And I think, what does it say? You only need 1,000 truly dedicated people. So I don't need to take over the world with my message or anything like that, or be a Simon Sinek or whoever guru you want to pick, right? That's like, like just the tippy top. That's like winning the lottery. Very small spaces up there, but slowly build out that tribe over time and have those two things kind of work congruently together. And then lastly, some other business opportunities have come up. We've done a really good job with like hosting websites and maintaining those. So we have this other model where we are stacking up like smaller customers and then clicking off the ones that want to do big work to our thing. So hopefully I'll get to build that new business idea out with some team members instead of me being the sole owner. So those are three things I'm looking forward to.
No, I love that. And we appreciate you coming back on the show today and just talking all things branding and just life. Like we don't get a lot of people that ask us questions back on our show. So it's good.
Yeah, definitely. And 1,000 true fans. Like, I love that. Ron and I don't know, 6 months we've been talking about that. And when we talk podcasts and to people and they're like, oh, I want 1,000 downloads or I want 10,000 downloads, all that fun stuff. And we're like, well, would you rather have those downloads and that vanity, or would you rather have one person that buys from you, right? Like let's focus on getting those people that are truly the fans, and forget the number of friends you have on Facebook, forget the number of followers you have on Instagram, right? Like let's focus on those real, true tribe that cares and is involved with the stuff you're doing. And so I love that. I love that you're going into other directions. Who knows? Maybe maybe we can all partner together someday and work on something. Calling our shot right here.
Yeah, I love you guys' vibe. And what's really cool is out of the podcast too, you get to these stories just open doors and you get to know each other really well. And I've learned a ton from podcasting, just even we use StreamYard and seeing what you guys can do and are capable with it. So yeah, may have to be coming your way to take ours to the next level.
No, love it. Love it. So we thank you. And again, if you could just tell everybody where they connect with you if they would like some help with their life and their architect or their design or what you do.
For sure. So one place, jeffvenn.com. That's JEFFVENN.com. And there you can see Create Web Studios and Converge and get in touch. I'm active on social. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you, guest on your podcast, or help you out with your website and digital stuff.
Perfect. All right, Jeff. Thanks so much, man. We'll talk soon.
Take care, Jeff.
All right, everyone. That was another amazing 45 minutes, a little bit longer than the last one with Jeff, and it was worth every second. So if you missed the first episode, head on back and catch it. You'll learn some more tips and tricks from Jeff, and then you can dive right into this one without skipping a beat. But Ron, a couple of takeaways. What do you got for us?
This one's heavy, man. Are you ready? Ready? You can plan your exit strategy, exit date. You can plan all of this stuff. But sometimes that day never comes, right? So literally, I remember telling Rachel, like, we're going on our first family vacation ever, right? And that's next week. And it's like, we have said over and over and over again, hey, we're going to save, we're going to plan, we're going to save, we're going to plan. But you know what? We never do. We never go do it. And I told her, I go, what do we say? What are we saving for? If we save and save and save when we die, what's the point? What's the point, right? We got to have some fun and live along the way. So I loved that. The other one there's two. One was, you want your day to make you feel a certain way. So you should plan it and organize your day to help you feel that way. And then the one thing that I'm going to commit to do is track my time on what I'm doing. Right. And I think that's huge.
Yeah. I mean, that's now that we actually have help and we can see above the water, then now we can really dive in and dig deep. And my favorite piece was the first few minutes of our conversation was focus on the output. And so what if you're a boss and you focused on everyone's output? You could care less about their time they put in, right? If they can get the job done that you need done in 5 hours, then that's what you need.
I've said that, Corey, you could probably attest. I don't care how long it takes you to do it. You could do it in an hour and I'm going to pay you for 40. I mean, at the end of the day, just get the job done appropriately. And if you can get it done better and faster because you're more skilled at that, more power to you.
Exactly. So here's to you and I focusing on our output, not the time, and making sure our team on the same end. It's less about the time, more about the output. And to anybody out there listening, what are you doing for your team? How are you tracking and monitoring and inspiring them? Are you focused on the time or are you focused on the output? Who knows? But until next time, I appreciate everyone that's watching, everyone that's listening. And we definitely can't wait to have you in our Facebook group. Oh, are you not in there? If you're not, what are you doing? Head on over facebook.com/groups/profits with, and we will see you there.
But guys, thanks for being the best part of the Hindsight Hackers community.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you had as much fun as I did. And you know what? If you're not already a member of our Facebook group, what are you waiting for? Head on over facebook.com/groups/profits with.
Guys, we are super excited to have you be a part of our community and help you get more visible, get more traffic, and get more sales.
That's right, Ron. And every time someone's in our group, we get to share all the tips, the tricks, and everything that you can get profits with from your summits, your challenges, your workshops, your podcasts, your vodcasts, and so much more.
Guys, thanks for being the best part of the Hindsight Hackers community.